Hey guys, thanks for joining us at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So, great guest joining us today. Laura Nelson is the founder of Sober Life Rocks. She's going to talk about her decision to become sober later in life. She's going to talk about the resources that Sober Life Rocks provides to create sober, inclusive environments. Just real clear. She's not in any way or shape or form anti alcohol. She's not in any way, shape, or form judgmental. She simply wants to raise awareness that you have choices and that you want to create an environment where people are comfortable coming and socializing and networking and having a good time that don't require them to participate in drinking if that's something that they don't want to do. So she does a great job of explaining it. She's a great speaker. That's what she does for a living. And so without further ado, let's bring Laura on now. So Laura, thank you so much for joining us here at saltygingertalk.com tonight.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. We had a great conversation a couple of weeks ago. You also had sent me, I forgot to mention this to you, but you'd sent me an event in January and I've got it on my calendar. I think I'm actually going to be able to attend that. I'm waiting on one other business related thing to kind of firm up, but right now it's looking good. So we'll be able to meet in person in Orlando in
Awesome.
February. Yeah. Or
Yeah,
January. I'm
that's
sorry, I said February, but
great.
it's January. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Hopefully, we can talk about it here so everybody can know what we're talking about. We'll create this FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. It's top secret. You can't know.
Yeah, you have to stick
Only for
around.
people on only for people on Salty Ginger Talk. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
That's a, yeah, we don't do clickbait or any of that other I always, I have people that do SEO. You should do teasers, you should do this. I'm like, nobody, the people that do the scroll to the end, they're annoying as fuck. Nobody wants to listen to those people. They annoy
Yeah.
me. I'm not going to be one of those people. So you're going to listen to our stuff or you're not. We have awesome people. If you're not listening to our guests, you're missing out. I don't know what to tell you. So
Yeah.
that's
Well, you tell it how it is. I love it.
that's exactly right. That's what we do. So, our topic today, broad strokes, is super interesting to me. But what I like to do is let our guests get to know let our listeners get to know our guests a little bit. So we ask them just to do a brief bio of kind of life to this point. You can choose to start wherever you want. Some people start in childhood because they had really important things happen to them in childhood and they want to talk about those, and we're cool with that. If that's not you, that's cool too. Some people start right at high school and kind of work their way through adult life. That's fine too. You do what you want to do, but the floor is yours to let us know who you are before we dive into our deeper conversations.
Awesome. Well, let's see. When I was born, no, I'm just kidding. I grew up in the military, moved around my whole life. Went to college, did the typical, college party life, whatever. Got married young, 24, so young-ish. Had two kids. I'm no longer married to the same guy, but 22 years married to a dentist. So I ended up in the dental industry.
Hmm.
Um, Practices, teaching teams, teaching customer service, raising kids, doing the white picket fence suburban life. Everything up to my life was, I mean, not typical, but nothing profound or huge or small, just kind of living my life. But during that whole time, I was, the typical, I thought, drinking kind of a thing, college and then, moms getting together and having wine, wine nights and date nights with husband and going to conferences and building my career, not corporate, but dental career and just doing the regular things. And then started waking up, I don't know, 10-ish years ago going, I'm so tired. I drank too much a little bit that night before, or this or that, and starting to question just my relationship with alcohol in the sense of like, dry January started to become a thing. And it was like, okay, I'm gonna not drink for a month. And I'd go like 2, 3 weeks and I'd feel super great. And so I'd celebrate by having a drink, right? Um, I I mean, you feel good, so celebrate that. I would sit and, talk to my husband and say, maybe we should cut back on drinking. Like maybe there was an excuse to go to this and have a drink or go there and have a drink. And all of it was functioning. Like I was functioning. I'm building a business. I have great kids. I have but just kind of like trying to figure out my relationship with alcohol. And throughout my whole life, my dad always told me, be careful. We have alcoholism in our family. It runs in our family. And I was like, okay, cool. So I knew that was in the back of my brain, but I didn't know anybody in my family who didn't drink. So I was like, okay, so we have an addictive family line, but yet everybody still drinks. So what do? We just manage it, right? And so it was just and it's not something you voice to other people. It was kind of in the back of my head and it just kind of was hanging around. Um, Flash forward, then I end up separating from my ex and I'm home alone. My kids are almost adults at this point, and this is where it really started to get out of control because I didn't expect to be separated in my 40s. I didn't expect to be on my own. I didn't have anyone to be accountable to because my kids were busy in their young adult lives and no longer a spouse at home. And my business is growing and I'm traveling a ton. And that's really where I started to, when you have these major life pivots, you start to assess your life, right? Like, and there was a lot of assessment of that time going, okay, well, here I am in this part of my life where I didn't expect to be. And do I like where I am and who I am? And that really started my journey to not drinking, not that day. It took years, but that was kind of the beginning of where I am now. Of now I'm, have an organization called Sober Life Rocks, which we'll talk about, and my sobriety journey. But up to that point, it wasn't like my idea of stopping drinking was you were an alcoholic, you were drinking out of a bottle in a brown bag on the side of the road. And I didn't feel that way. So why was I struggling so much? So
Mm.
I ended up stop drinking in 2020, which we can kind of go through that part of the journey. But that's who I am. Up to this point, I didn't know. If you would have said to me 15 years ago, 10 years ago that you're going to be talking about sobriety on podcasts, I would have said you're insane. So here we are, second part of my life. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Oh my gosh, totally. I love that. It's a testament to you never know how life's gonna where it's gonna take you. Because like I think I told you about this when we first met. I'm the least touchy feely guy on the face of the earth. So for me to be doing a podcast that talks about like deep emotional stuff is kind of comical when you think about it. Except I find it super interesting to learn these things, and I find it super useful to employ in my life. And I'm in leadership roles in almost everything that I do. So for me to have so much knowledge and learn things that I can use to help other people, like it's
Mhm.
super beneficial to me.
Right.
And so you just never know where it's going to take you. But if you knew anyone that knows Joe Canfield and said, "Hey, Joe does a podcast and talks about really deep emotional stuff to help people build purposeful lives," they'd be like, "No, you know a different Joe Canfield than I do, clearly." So you
That's
just
funny.
you never know where it's going to take you. So you said you didn't know there's literally no one in your family that doesn't drink. That you said, yeah.
Yep. Yep. There was no aunts, uncles, grandparents. I have uncles who were police officers and uncle that was in the military. My dad was in the military. I didn't have, and I wasn't looking for it either, if that makes sense. Like, you don't notice cars until you decide you're going to buy that car and then they're everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because I guess I didn't want to see it too, because I was doing life like it seemed like everybody else was doing. You just did the career, you did the family, and alcohol was just part of everything that we do, you know? So yeah, I didn't have any role models in that area.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think I told you this when we talked. I've literally never been drunk in my life, not once. And
Mm,
that's not a flex, that's not a brag, it's just a statement of fact. It's never been appealing to me or looked appealing to me, but there's some deep social issues that I've really been looking forward to our conversation about because I'm a freak. And look, like I mean that like that's kind of a compliment to myself. I've always known that I'm a weirdo, and I've embraced that I'm like different than most people in a lot of aspects. This just happens to be one of them. I know I look at the world very differently than most people. In a lot of instances, that works really well for me. In a lot of instances, it kind of sucks. But
mm,
like it's who I am, and that's like the way I'm wired. And so I've always been very comfortable with it and learned that a long time ago. However, that's not normal. That's very
right,
different than the way our
right.
society is. And when you think about this issue, if you take it all the way back. It's one of the few things that forced us, or not forced us. It's one of the few things that made us literally change our constitution was
Mhm.
alcohol. And
Mhm.
then the rise of the mafia happened because of prohibition, because people said, fuck this. I don't care what the law says. I'm going to drink, and those
Right,
guys will sell it to me. And
right.
so it's so ingrained in our society. Do you have any idea? Maybe you do, maybe you don't,
Yeah.
how that started or why that is?
So I was lucky. So the day I stopped drinking, the next day I picked up a book, and it was called This Naked Mind. And that book changed for me the idea that I can't drink to I choose not to drink. And
Mm,
so she goes into the history of alcohol and the societal pressure of alcohol and stuff. So I'm not going to say I could go back into like the history of all that prohibition and all of that, but I can tell you that it is a good going against societal norm because if you look at our society, you're raised by parents who are like, oh, that's mommy and daddy's drink. You can't have that. You're not old enough yet. So we grow up with like there's this magic elixir that our parents drink, right? Then there's the peer pressure of like people in school and in college. And then you look at the advertisements and it's on the big billboards. You're going to be rich and sexy and famous if you drink this tequila. You go to sports events and you go to concerts, it's the main focus, right? So it's in our subconscious. Then we go to events. You can go to a funeral or a baby shower and there's alcohol. Celebrate a baby. Here's some wine. Here's some, so it's everywhere. Then when we talk about like in our professional lives, I mean, we meet over drinks, we network over drinks. So it is just so indoctrinated into from before we even were conscious of it of societal, it's just become a thing. And before, while people are listening to this, before they like say, I'm not listening to this, I'm not against alcohol. Like I'm not against, it's not a prohibition thing. It's not, alcohol's not going anywhere. But there's a percentage of people. I mean, the latest study says that 50% of Americans are trying not to drink or don't drink now. There's a larger percentage of people who are choosing not to drink, and that's okay. That's the thing. Let the people who don't want to drink don't drink, and the people who want to drink drink. That's fine. I kind of equate it to cigarettes. Like remember in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, like cigarettes were everywhere. And now there are people who still smoke and awesome, you do you, right? But there's no pressure to like, what? You don't want a cigarette? Here, have a cigarette. Why aren't you smoking? That's just the change that we need to have when it comes to alcohol.
yes, it's so funny you bring up cigarettes because my dad was a smoker. And I don't like, even if you didn't smoke, you had ashtrays in your house. For those of you that are of a certain
Yeah.
age, that, I'm 53. So
We made
everybody
them
had
in school.
ashtrays. Oh,
Remember,
yeah.
we'd make them in school. That was your art project, right?
Absolutely. You put your little thumbprint on there for the cigarette. Absolutely. Your
Yeah.
pinky. Yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
You bet. I remember that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's a great comparison. So how, I guess, take us through, you know what? Let's go back and start in college. Did you ever have any, you had said like it wasn't an alcoholism thing, you're always functioning, et cetera, et cetera. Did you binge drink in college?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the normal. I was in a sorority. We did the sorority stuff. You
Yeah.
did and not, I don't think none of my drinking ever felt like it was any worse than anyone else's.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'd wake up in the morning, even at events as an adult, I'd have the wine. I might have one more glass of wine than some lightweight next to me or somebody who doesn't want it. But I wake up in the morning and it's in your head. I'm like, God, I feel like crap. Like I really didn't need that extra glass of wine. How do they feel okay? And you don't know how other people feel. We don't know what's in their head, but I never felt like I was excessive compared to anyone else. The biggest thing for me at the end, not so much at the beginning, was when there's no accountability, you can go have wine with your girlfriends at lunch, you can have beer with your friends at dinner, you can go to another meeting and meet someone else, and it's just everywhere you turned, there's
Mm.
always somebody who's willing to have a drink with you. There's always some event you can go to, something, and that's where it really got to the point where I'm like, every time I turn around, this is everywhere. And I'm a talking about like being a leader and that kind of mindset. I'm an all in or an all out person. Like
Yep.
I'm all in or I'm all out. So when I was all in, I was all in, but I just couldn't regulate. It's just, it took too much mental space. It took too much of like trying to figure things out. And I was like, I just can't control this substance. And when we really think about it, it's an addictive substance. Its job is to get you addicted. Like everybody who's drank and drank for the wrong reason, drank too much, regretted drinking the morning after, they're on the spectrum. It's alcohol use disorder. It's not you are or you aren't. You're broken or you're not. It's an addictive substance, And I just got to a point where I was just like, I just can't do this anymore. I'd rather quit than see where my life is going with this. It wasn't serving me anymore.
Sure. Yeah. So so I went through college on a baseball scholarship, which is germane to this discussion because for a couple of reasons. One, I was part of the athletes in college. You get invited to literally every. There's a party, you're invited. You hang around with the football guys and the basketball guys and blah 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 blah. And then baseball is very different than other sports in that you play series. So if you
Mhm.
play a basketball game, you go, you play the game, you leave. You play a football game, you go, you play the game, you leave. Baseball, you play 3 or 4 games. And so
Mhm.
you go, you play the game, you go back to the hotel, you got 16 hours to kill till you go back to the park. Then you do it
Mhm.
again, you got 16 hours to kill, you go back to the park. So you've got a bunch of young, really well conditioned young men. They're going to do generally one of two things. They're going to go find chicks or they're going to go find beer and drugs, right? That's what they do. And so I got invited to everything because I didn't drink and I was unapologetic. Like I wasn't militant about it. I wasn't walking around with my Bible like I don't drink. I'm better than you all. It just wasn't my thing. But that was part of why it wasn't my thing. Even in high school, it was never appealing to me because when I saw people that were really, really drunk, that did not look fun to me. And
Mhm.
I'm a bit of a control freak. Like I like to be in control of my situation and control of my environment and control of my faculties. And it never looked fun to me, especially the morning after. Like I remember waking up one time, we'd had a party at our apartment. And so I can tell you that's where I got good learning to talk to cops. And back in
Mhm.
those days, there was no Uber. You had a designated driver. That was me. I got invited to fucking everything
I bet.
because
Yeah.
I could take everybody home, right?
Yeah.
And but then they would call me to the door, "Oh, the cops are here." And I'd be like, "Yeah, hey officer, like got it. He's gonna get off the roof. She's gonna put her shirt on. We're gonna turn the music down. I got this under control. I promise you we're okay here." So I was like instant credibility to the cops, like, "Hey, this kid's actually sober. Let's leave it with him." Um, but those experiences didn't look fun to me. And
Mhm.
again, I'm a freak. Like parties never looked fun to me. Like screaming and doing all the crazy stuff that goes on at parties that never looked fun to me. But that's like a rite of passage.
Mhm.
So, we'll talk about it a little bit further down, but I wonder, it seems like this younger generation, call it Gen Z, whatever the hell they're called,
Mhm.
um, they're much less likely to drink, which I find interesting.
Well, yes. And here's my disclaimer about that.
Mm,
So as we grow up, we don't want to be our parents, right? So like we all sat in a car with our parents with the cigarettes and the windows up, right? And
big
so
time. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not doing that. So our kids are looking at us going, well, alcohol is mom and dad's problem. I don't want to do that, which is great, right? But I will tell you that every generation-ish, I think, has a vice, and the vaping and the CBD and the all of I think that alcohol, just like cigarettes, aren't our issue because that's the next vice. So yes, alcohol sales are down. Yes, the younger generation's not drinking as much, but that doesn't mean they're not. Maybe, I hope, I don't know. There's no statistics here that I can say. Maybe they're more mindful. Maybe they're more about wellness. But maybe they're also just not using alcohol as their vice. And we will see, 20, 30 years from now when they're our age, what's their issue? What's
Nobody
right?
gets out
I'll
without
be
issues,
watching them
right?
yeah, I'll be in a senior home watching them, trying to figure out what their issue is, right? What are they in therapy for?
Oh my gosh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, those were the things I've always noticed about alcohol. And like you've said it already, and I've always found it like odd because when sometimes when people, so I'll make two statements. One, for the most part, I would just, when people would say, "Do you want something to drink?" I would say, "No, thanks." They would say, "You don't drink?" And I'd say, "No." And that would be the end of it.
Mm.
Like, I
Well,
never
nobody's
got a
messing
lot
with
of,
you. Nobody's messing with
well,
you.
but then there were people that took the opposite approach. They would like try to get me to try all of
Uh,
these things. Well, you should try a Mai Tai. You can't even taste the alcohol. You should try a pina colada. You can't even taste the alcohol. I'm like, I don't want the fucking alcohol. It's not a
uh-huh,
matter of tasting it or not tasting it. I don't want it. Leave me alone. Like I
uh-huh.
chew tobacco. I'm not trying to shove Copenhagen in your lip. Leave me the fuck
Yeah,
alone. What's the matter with
yeah.
you?
Yeah. And you kind of alluded to it early in life in a rite of passage and in college and in high school and all that stuff. But it's real still now. I mean,
Mm.
you go to professional events. I'm in my 50s too, and it's still, do you want something to drink? Why don't you want something to drink? Aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? What's wrong with you? It's like, why do you care why I drink or not? And there are a lot of people who can't stand up like you and I, aren't okay to give back the sarcastic response, are in recovery and don't want people to know, whatever the case may be. It's like we need to change this because peer pressure is real. And it's even real, well into our 50s and 60s. It's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the funny parts to me is like you can't see all like I'm a big guy. Like I look like a beer guzzling, wife beating, knuckle dragging Neanderthal in real life. Like that's if you
I do
saw me,
not
you'd be
agree
like,
with you. I do not agree with you, but that's funny.
anyone that's seen me would agree with me. So I like I'm cool with it. It's fine. It doesn't matter to me. But if you judged me just on my appearance, I should like have a loincloth and a club, dragging my wife by her hair back to our cave. But that kind of freaks them out too, because then like you don't drink at all. Like what kind of world am I living in? What bizarro universe is
Uh-huh.
this?
Yeah.
Um,
And one of the things that I say for those listening who maybe can have had this pressure themselves too, I think a lot of times when people are trying to push alcohol on us, there's a couple different reasons. One is they're just trying to be nice. Like
yeah,
they would do
right.
the same thing, like, do you want a scoop of ice cream? You don't want a scoop of ice cream? The ice cream's really good. Do you sure you don't want chocolate, vanilla? Right? They're just trying to be nice. The second thing is they want a drinking buddy. So they're like, if you're not drinking, well, then who am I going to drink with? Right. Which is not your problem. It's their problem. That's their story, not yours. And the third is just that sometimes they're just like literally somebody looking at you going, you don't drink? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you, because they're literally curious, right? I think there's more and more people who are out talking about it right now, and people are asking, like, how do you do life without alcohol? And it is a
Mm,
thing. It's a challenge. Like I mean, you haven't had the, yeah, I've had 40 years of using alcohol for the goods and the bads and the highs and the lows. And putting
yep.
down alcohol was the first step. But then I had to learn how to just do life. I had to learn how to deal with the hard stuff. I've had to learn how to go to a concert without alcohol and all of the things. And so a lot of people are just wondering, like, how do you do it? Right? Because like we said, it goes against the norm. And we just don't know, you know?
Sure. Yeah. And quick disclaimer for everybody listening. This is not me trying to take some moral high ground. These are just statements of fact. This is just the life that I've lived. I'm not better or worse than anyone else. I've got my own problems. They're serious problems. I live in a glass house, so I don't throw stones. I'm not judging anybody by saying what I'm saying. This is just the experience that I'm able to share because it's what I've lived. So let's just get that out of the way. This is not me
I
judging.
actually, yep. And I love that you say that because everybody has stuff in their closet.
Fuck I.
Everybody has. And if you don't, it's coming. If you don't, there's something that you've got, you're dealing with, or you're going to be dealing with. And so this is just, this one's for me. Like it's just my topic and my thing. And the biggest thing is the more we can be open for each other and allow people to just make their decisions, live their life, support them, honor them, and whatever yours are and whatever mine are, and that's great. But we don't do that so much as humans. We judge, we put our 2 cents on them, we put our thing on them, and it's like we can be much better for each other if we just allowed everybody to be themselves,
Totally, yeah. And cut the
right?
shit. You've all got problems. You're just not
Right.
talking
We
about
all
it.
do.
So you're
Yeah,
not fooling
exactly.
me. I know
Yeah.
there's skeletons in the closet because I got them too. You're not
Yep.
you're not special. But
Yep.
so let's fast forward. So, you've gone through a divorce, you find yourself at a place in life that, what the fuck am I doing here? Right. I mean, I think
Yep.
all of us of a certain age have that epiphany. Like there's a point in your life where you go, son of a bitch, I'm not actually going to live forever like I thought I was gonna.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you really, for a while, think you're going to live forever. And then at some point, it occurs to you that there's probably more runway behind you than there is ahead of you. And
Yep.
the clock starts to tick a little bit faster. And you look at your relationship with alcohol and say, hey, I don't like the relationship that I've got right now. Walk us through a little bit of how that thought process worked and how you kind of worked your way through it. And then we'll get into Sober Life Rocks as kind of the zenith of that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think the first step is awareness or curiosity. And so, of course, I started like assessing my life just in general, and then where alcohol played a part in it. And I started, going to conferences and recognizing that there were people at these conferences, events, not drinking. And so I started doing how do you've never drank? Like I have friends that because of religious reasons, they've never drank. I met people
Mm,
that, so I think I started to just realize that there were people that I didn't even know in my ecosystem who didn't drink and, how they felt in the morning versus how I felt and all of that. And then, so I started getting curious that way. I started getting Instagram reels. Don't ask me why, but everybody now is going to get it on their phones. Like Sobriety, somebody popped up and it was like, mommy wine culture, and she was talking about that. And so I'd hide it and I wouldn't didn't want to see it, but I was kind of learning from someone who went out and spoke about it on Instagram. And then I went to a conference, and this was the kind of the weekend that it ended. I went to a conference and I was supposed to speak on Saturday. And so on Thursday night, I drank more than I, would have the night before I speak, because the night before I speak, I have to make sure I go to bed enough time. And so Thursday night, I didn't have to speak Friday. So it was great. So I was out with everybody, whatever. On Friday, the meeting planner came to me and asked me if I would speak early, a day early, because somebody missed their flight and they couldn't come. And I had to
mm,
say no because I really couldn't put all my words together that day because I wasn't feeling great because of the one extra glass of wine the night before. And so that sort of hit me where I was like, okay, I can't even do this is my career. I'm a professional speaker and I can't get on stage when I'm getting asked to be on stage because of this. Then I was wearing an Aura ring. I started monitoring my sleep. And the sleep, I thought I was sleeping it off, right? Well, as I was wearing this Aura ring the last couple of weeks, I was seeing what was actually happening to my body when I was sleeping with the alcohol. Sorry about that. There we go.
oh, you're good.
Um, so I wasn't really sleeping it off. I mean, your body's processing the alcohol. And in fact, the last night I drank, I took my Aura ring off and was like, I don't even want to know. And then the morning I woke up, the last day I drank, I went down to the gym and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get on the treadmill, make myself feel better. I gotta, get going or whatever. And I turned on a TED Talk. And in the TED Talk, it was about gray area drinker. And what she talked about is this whole idea of I don't consider myself an alcoholic, but I'm not okay with where I am in alcohol, and there's a gray area in between. And I don't know what that means, but I fit into that gray area. And that was the
Mm,
TED Talk that got me to go, that's me. And so for me, it was I identified as somebody where I was like, that just explained so much for me. Like, and she quit drinking because that where she was on the spectrum. Basically, I've done a lot of research now to know she was talking about alcohol use disorder and it's a spectrum. And so that was the last day I drank. I came home and cried in bed for a day like I was losing a best friend, and then picked up this book, This Naked Mind, and started on this journey and haven't looked back since. And I've really changed from I can't drink to I choose not to drink, because I think our brains think like we're not going to live forever and we're never going to drink alcohol again. Like, how are we going to do that? Like,
mm.
and so I play it out every time. I see people drinking alcohol, and once in a while I'm like, a glass of wine would be good, but if I had a glass of wine, what would happen and how does it serve me? And is there something else I can drink? It's kind of like smoking. I used to smoke cigarettes in college, and every once in a while, maybe once a year, I'll pass a cigarette and I'm like, that smells good, but I don't want a cigarette. Like I don't want to start again. I don't want to have day one again, And so it was 2020 when I stopped drinking, and here we are.
Yeah, so that was first, congratulations, good for you.
Thank you.
And I don't mean good for you. The only reason I say good for you is because it's a choice that's important to you and you feel good about it, right? So
Acting. Thank you.
that's awesome. What led you to continue down this? I mean, you've built a whole business around this choice. So what, like, kind of talk about how that transition or process happened.
Yep. So when I stopped drinking, it was January 2020, and then the world shut down in March. So I watched everybody online and all my
Except
friends
for
get,
liquor stores. Liquor stores were essential, remember? They stayed
yeah,
open. That
right.
was fucking unbelievable to me. I'm like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah, dental offices shut down, but liquor stores were open.
Right?
So I didn't tell anybody in my professional life about this because I didn't want people to think I had a problem with alcohol or whatever. So, but I'm a professional speaker and I talk a lot. And so instead of going in my professional life, I went and started a TikTok channel and I started talking about it on TikTok. And the reason I did that was mostly for me. I started documenting day one, week one, month one, all of that, because if I ever were to want to go back or consider drinking again, I wanted to see how hard it was in the beginning. I wanted to remember all of the things I've learned and grown and all of that. So I had TikTok. The world was shut down, the world opened back up. We went back out to speaking and conferences again. And I was at a dental event and in my day job, and I was leaving the event a little early because, at the evening everyone started drinking, and two drinks in, I'm like, well, this is kind of silly. I'll go back and make a TikTok video or whatever. And I passed somebody in the lobby of the hotel, and it's somebody I've known for years. And he passes me and he stops me and he says, "Hey, I just have to tell you, I follow you on TikTok." And literally my heart dropped because I thought, oh no, he knows. Like he knows I'm sober.
All
And then I thought,
right.
that's the problem. Like, why do I care? And he said, I just have to tell you, I'm 7 months sober and you're part of my sober story.
Mm,
We sat down and talked for 3 hours that night. It was the best networking and conversation I've ever had with this gentleman. And we're in the same industry. We've known each other for years. So that was sort of the beginning where I was like, okay, I need to stop hiding this because apparently it's making a difference in some people's lives. Then I was asked to be on a wellness panel at a conference. And the wellness panel, I was asked to be on it, which I'm more like you. I'm more business, cut and dry, tell you how it is. So wellness for me is like touchy-feely, weird, like yoga and breath work and stuff. But I was asked to be on it because of my sobriety, my sober choices. And it was about 125 women in the audience. And on the stage, I said, how many people in here consider themselves sober, soberish, or sober curious? And almost a quarter of the room raised their hand, but they raised their hand kind of hesitantly, like they looked over their shoulder and they wanted to see was anybody else raising their hand. And so that's where Sober Life Rocks launched because my business partner at the time was 17 years sober. She had done AA, so she was, going to meetings with AA, but had never told anyone in the career. Well, she one time went on stage and talked about being sober and her journey, and three of our peers came up to her and said, I don't know that I would share that from the stage. So she got quiet again. And so when we talked about this and she looked around the room and we realized all these women don't know about each other. And these are all people who also don't drink or don't want to drink. That's where Sober Life Rocks launched because we thought if we can build this community and group where we think people are either suffering in silence, potentially suffering in silence, or sober in silence. And why? This is something one of the most proud of things I have is, the fact that I choose not to drink. And so why do I hide that? And then at the end of the day, the meeting planner came up to me and she said, I didn't realize that a quarter of the people here don't drink alcohol. And all I have at the party in the evening is beer and wine. Like, what do we do
mm,
about that? And so that's where I realized that, and that's why I wrote my book about how to plan an event that's sober inclusive, because she hadn't even thought about it. And full story now, I found out after the fact, her daughter was in AA. Her daughter had been suffering with alcoholism, and she didn't know how to have an event that was sober friendly. So this is kind of where Sober Life Rocks launched because we were like, this has got to change. Many times you can choose who you go out to with in your personal life and your bars and restaurants you go to and your friends, but you can't choose that a lot of times in your professional life. And so we really wanted to start to make an impact in the professional setting, the meetings, the conferences, the events, to make it more sober inclusive because more and more people, even if you do drink, you might not want to drink at a work event because you say dumb stuff or you feel like crap the next day and you don't show up to the meeting or whatever. So we're really just trying to help spotlight this in the professional space.
Yeah, I love that. So I used to I worked at one point for about 15 years at the largest grocery wholesaler in the country. And we did an annual charity golf event that donated all of the money to the Jimmy Fund, which is for kids that have cancer at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston, because this was up in New England. And we would raise over $1 million at that event. It was an awesome event. However, it seemed like every year after that event, we had to fire someone because they got drunk and did something crazy. Like one year, we had to fire a guy because he got drunk, stood on the balcony at the lodge at Mount Snow and pissed off the balcony in front of the rest of the party. We literally had to drag the guy off. Like, what? I'm not going to say his name, obviously. And he was a nice guy. I liked him a lot, but like, you don't have a choice. He's gone the next day. Like, yeah, he's not
Yeah.
here anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and it was, granted, not great decision making, but it was alcohol influenced decision making.
Oh,
And it
for
seemed
sure.
like once a year we had to do something like that at such an awesome event. Like, how do you
Yeah.
fuck up an event where you donated $1 million to kids with cancer? It's like it's impossible to screw that event up, but somebody managed to do it every year
Yep.
because of
Yep.
alcohol.
Yep. Yep. And that's where when we flash forward to what we're hosting this conference in January that we started talking about, our goal here is there are people in so many different sectors who are helping with the sober movement of this, like amplifying this and putting a spotlight on it, but all in different areas. And so human resources in businesses, like a lot of HR people are happy when companies decide not to have their sales meeting because they typically have to handle HR issues after a sales event or a sales conference, right? So we have people in HR, we have people like me who are in the events and meeting space area. We have people who are trying to get into the restaurants and so we're trying to like bring light to this in so many aspects because it's in every day. It's in everything in every day of our lives, every aspect of our life.
Yeah. How do you spread that awareness? Like, what do you teach and coach people and organizations to look for, or behaviors? Like, how do you start this process if someone's interested in becoming sober and or creating an environment where anyone can exist whether they want to drink or not?
Yeah. So I'm a sober coach. I actually was certified by This Naked Mind. And I did that mostly because if I'm going to stand on stage or be on podcasts like yours, I want to have certification after my name. So I'm not just
Mm,
someone who got sober who went like, yay, follow me, right? So
yep.
I am a coach, but I don't coach. That's not my interest. And that's not what we are here for. There are so many amazing sober coaches out there. There's communities, there's organizations. AA is a great one, but that's not for everybody. There's lots of online. So there's plenty of people out there who can coach and help with, and communities who can help with sobriety. My thing is kind of like you're now sober, now what, right? And the events and the meeting planners and the HR people and the business owners who didn't even realize this was a thing because so many people are quiet about their sobriety. We just sort of we show up to an event, we put club soda in with a lime in our glass, and we walk around like everyone else because we don't want to deal with the pressure of why aren't you drinking? What's in your cup and all of that. So they don't even realize there's a lot of people who are anonymously sober. There are a lot of people who just don't want to talk about it, right? So by spotlighting this, it's really showing and more people talking about their sober choices, right? But then for the meeting planners and for business owners and HR and all of that, a lot of times they think it means, well, I'll just serve Coke and Sprite or coffee and tea, and I've covered the sober side of things. And it's way more than that. So what I did early on in this Sober Life Rocks journey is I wrote a book because my business partner started our podcast and she's interviewing people on the podcast to spread the word. But there's more to making your events inclusive than just giving me a mocktail or giving me a Coke or tea, right? There in my book, there's only two chapters that actually even talk about the bar. The bar is part of it, but really it starts before that. The invitation to your event, is it sober friendly? Do you have things on there like cocktails and mocktails, right? Is your event when people show up? A lot of times we use alcohol as a crutch for connection. Like this is
Mm,
how we all stand around the bar. Well, can we do some other networking when we show up to make it easier for people to network? Because we've used alcohol as the way to help this networking because it's not easy. It's easy for you, but it's not easy for a lot of people to walk up to a group of people and go like, "Hey, how are you guys? Who are you?" Right?
Right.
So alcohol is the elixir that we use, right? So making your event easier for people to network. And then going into the evening events, first of all, it's what is the main focus of the event? It's not, a lot of times the meeting planners, it's the bar, it's the alcohol. We roll up the black bars and we all stand around and drink. Well, for a sober inclusive event where people can feel included, it needs to be about something else. What are
Mm.
we doing? Are we putt-putt golfing? Are we watching a band? Are we have a DJ? Are we doing a scavenger hunt? Like give me an event. Alcohol can be part of it. Just don't make it the main focus, right? Because those that don't drink don't want to stand around and just watch people get drunk, right? Then talking about the bar. And really with the bar, it's the things that, first of all, is that understanding. A lot of times at these events, we have roll up black bars with people who just hand out drinks. They're not trained bartenders. So in a restaurant, you can usually go in and have them make a cocktail into a mocktail. Give me something without alcohol and they can do it. But these black bars that we roll up at of bigger events, a lot of times they can't do that. And so we just have beer and wine and Coke and soda. So what I suggest in my book is like get similar products that don't have alcohol in it. Like if you've got beer, get a non-alcoholic version that you can offer people. Wine, get spritzers, do Pellegrinos, other things that are adultish. Don't give me a sticky sweet lemonade in a spout in a kid's cup. Like
Right.
and make it easy for me to order. Like, let me walk up half the time when people are ordering, they don't want to have to yell over the DJ, "Do you have anything with no alcohol?" Like, let me point at a sign and go, "I'll take one of those," right? And make it easy for people to order. So it's really about looking at the entire event. And this could be an event of 5 people coming to your house or an event of 5,000 people showing up at a conference center. But really, looking at it and a lot of times meeting planners are like, how come I never knew this? Well, that's because a lot of people were anonymous. A lot of people weren't talking about it. We were just fitting into the norm, and now there's more and more people talking about it. That's really why the spotlight is more on it for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I just can envision a bunch of people walking around with a Capri Sun at a cocktail hour, like that's all they had, you know.
That's great. That's great. Well, I just went to an event. This is my true testament. Because sometimes you're doing these things and you're like, I don't know if we're making an impact, but we're making
Mm,
an impact because this started 2 years ago, and it started because this conference I went to was a well-known conference in my industry that was all about the party. I mean, we're talking party, 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 party. And I left that first time I went 2 years ago, and I was like, I don't need to go again. Like, it's just not my scene. Well, now 2 years later, one of our members in our community was like pushing on them, like, you need to be more sober inclusive. This isn't okay. So I showed up this time, almost feeling like I was going to give up hope, and so excited because we went to the event in the evening. They had an 80s band. They had at the bar, they had Sober Life Rocks mixed drinks that were amazing, mocktails that were for adults. They had alcohol-free beers, good beers, like that you could partake was the name of the brewery. And everybody just they said they were selling out of the mocktails and the alcohol-free beer because it was a 3-day party fest. So
mm.
day one, people were like, I don't need to get drunk the first day. Like I got 3 more days of this, right? And they just did such a good job of making everybody feel included, and nobody felt like, You're not drinking. Why aren't you drinking?" Because it was just a part of those that wanted that. And then at 11 o'clock at night, they had a nightclub, and Tito's was the sponsor of it. And that's awesome because those that wanted to party from 11 to 2 in the morning, they kept going and they went to the Tito's party. But for the main event, it was very inclusive. And so that's just all we're saying is like, it's kind of like vegetarians and vegans. Like, do you remember back in the day, you had to go to a special line if you were vegetarian and vegan to get your food, and now you get served right with everybody else? That's just the same thing. We just need to do it in the bar.
Yeah, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I've literally been to hundreds of trade events like you have, and as you were talking, I was thinking I can't think of one. So let's say it's a 2-day event. Like if it's a 1-day event, a lot of times people pick up stakes and run away right afterwards. No big deal. But anything longer than a day, the first night, what's the very first thing you do after the event? It's a fucking
Go to the bar.
cocktail hour.
Hmm.
Cocktail hour. Like it's
Yep.
literally called cocktail hour. Before the
Yep.
dinner, before the show, before whatever, it's cocktail hour. And to your point, that's where you can network. And so I always went to those things. And to me, again, this is just me. It's my experience. I just grab a Diet Coke and I would wander around the room and talk to people.
Mm.
And that event was hard for me for a different reason because I don't hear very well in those
Mhm.
events, the background noise. So like I have to stand really close to people and turn my ear towards them. And my issues are different. And then if someone's slurring their words because they're already,
Yeah.
four Rob Roy's in or whatever the hell they're drinking, that
Yeah.
that makes it even harder to try to figure out what the fuck they're talking about. Like, what'd you say?
Actually,
I
I
wind up like
mentioned, go
I
ahead.
wind up like Jerry Seinfeld wearing a puffy shirt because I agreed to something because I couldn't hear anything.
I write about that in the book in the sense of the spacing of your event too. So like the spacing and don't start the DJ at level 10 at 6 o'clock. Like let's ease our way up to the party as people party and stay longer, then the noise can go up. Let's also look at the furniture placement. And we don't necessarily, everybody doesn't have to be in the room with the DJ. You can have furniture that's going out into the lobby outside that people can stand out there and have conversations and be able to talk without screaming at each other and
Mm,
still run in and dance when there's a good song, but then they can. So all of that about making the environment not just about that. And so that, but even what you were saying with your hearing, like that would be a same thing, right? My husband's really low. You can't really hear him talk a lot of times. And he's just like, I don't talk at these things because nobody can hear me because it's so freaking loud. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to network and connect? And what we forget, these live events, the reason we do them are for connection. Like you
yes.
can listen to podcasts, you can learn on YouTube, you can do all of this at home. We show up for connection. So we need to remember why we're there and offer better solutions for people to be able to connect.
For everybody to connect.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about it. So how do you interact with obviously you wrote the book, and then how do you interact with groups and organizations outside of the book? Like how do they find you?
Yeah. So just like with any business, Margie, my business partner, and I have been like, okay, what are we? Who do we serve? We have our podcast that she has interviewed amazing people on there, just telling all different stories in different areas in sobriety. And my book is available as a free download, and I work with and can work with any companies or people who want to have events if you need guidance with that. But what we've determined in the last year and a half is that there are a lot of people in this space, like I was talking about. There are people in the HR, there are people who are trying to get mocktails into restaurants, there are people like us, all in this space, all this is kind of their passion project. It's not like they started their career, I'm going to be sober and I'm going to teach other people. Like they're from other industries and now they're in the sober space and they want to grow their influence. They want to help people. That's why we're here, is just to help spread the word and we can do better more together. So what Margie and I have actually put out there is this conference, which is called Amplify Sober Voices, and it's in January. And the reason we're doing it is because one, we think that there's a lot of people who are like, they've started a podcast, but they want to be a writer, or they
Mm,
want to learn how to grow their podcast, or they want to be a speaker, but they don't know where to start. And so we're bringing the best of the best together we have like TED Talk style presentations and then networking to help people grow and amplify their voice. But then also, online connection is great, but in person's just different, like we talked about. And what
yep.
we want to do is get all the players in this space into one room because we think the 4 or 5 people who are trying to break into restaurants and the 6 people who are trying to do HR, like if they got together and could collaborate and work and connect, how much more could they do, right? If we knew about each other. So we've decided to do the 1 day conference, which is January 15th in Orlando, and it's called Amplify Sober Voices. And it's really for anybody who just, if you're sober, someone's watching you, somebody's paying attention, even if it's your children who are looking up to you going, okay, so what does this mean? You don't drink. Like, you're making a difference in someone's world. And that's what Amplify Sober Voice is about, is to help, amplify that message.
Mm. I love that. Just a personal anecdote on that. This will be wildly successful. I'm certain of it. So I told you I went through college on a baseball scholarship, and so I was pursuing it, but there's no question I was trying to be a professional baseball player. I met my wife, we got married. That road to professional baseball is low money, high risk, blah blah blah. So I did not wind up pursuing it. However, I've carried over a lot of the things I've learned in that mindset into my life. And my wife has told me, so I've been married to my wife for 32 years. So she knows me better than anyone else on the face of the earth. And she's told me a lot. You need to be more selfish. You need to be less team oriented. And I've always said, no, you're wrong. Respectfully, you're incorrect.
Mm.
Um, so she watched a show. They do these shows like Hard Knocks where they follow the football team in training camp and those kind
Yeah,
of
I
things,
love
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one on baseball, and it was maybe 10 years ago, and they followed the San Francisco Giants around. And the thing that they like to do on those shows is follow the guys that are called on the bubble. So, like spring training for baseball, you invite, say, 45 guys to Major League spring training. 15 of them, everybody knows are already major leaguers. And then those other, call it whatever the math is, their 30 guys are competing for 10 spots. And so they
Mm.
follow those guys right on the bubble. A lot of people know the bottom 10, they ain't going to make it. They're going to go back to the minors. But those other guys, like it is gut wrenching because, it is high pressure. The difference between the amount of money you make, a lot of those guys that are on there, so I think it's a 40-man roster. And if you're one of the guys that's in the minors, but not in the pros, you're on what's called a two-way contract. And
Mm.
so when you're in the pros, you get paid at the major league pay scale. When you're in the minors, you get paid at the minor league pay
Mm.
scale. And I can't remember the last time I looked, the major league minimum was somewhere around 500,000 bucks a year. So it's real money.
Mm.
Even if you're just a bench warmer and you don't play, if you're on the roster, you're getting paid 500,000 divided by 162, however many games you're up there. In the
Right.
minor leagues, you make 80 grand for the year. So like it's a
Mm.
lot. It's life-changing money. And so she's watching this show, and I didn't know she was watching it, but she called me at work and she's like, I'm watching this show and I got to tell you two things. I said, okay, like lay it on me. What do you got? And she said, one, I want to throw up. I don't even know these guys, and the pressure is insane. She said, I don't know how you lived in this world for as long as you did. And I said, oh, that's what I loved about it. Like that's that I thrived in that world. Like, am I good enough or not? Can I win or not? And failing's part of it. You've got to learn to fail in that world because you fail a lot in that world. And then she said, now I understand why you think the way you think, because they follow these guys around. And it's the weirdest thing because I was a pitcher, and you typically carry somewhere between 10 and 12 pitchers on a major league team. Well, that means there's 10 or 12 other people that do your job. And
Mm.
so you want the other guys to be good because you want your team to win. You
Mm.
just want to be better than them.
Mm.
So you want them, you're helping them. Hey, I noticed you're separating your hands too soon, or I noticed you're drifting towards home plate, or I noticed you're flattening out on your fastball, whatever the case may be. You're always helping the same guys you're competing for jobs against. And the only people who can understand what it's like are the other people that are doing what you're doing, which is
Mm.
why your conference is going to be successful, is because you are bringing together the people that are all doing the same things. People think of it the wrong way. They think of it
Mm.
like a zero sum game, like everyone's all going to watch one podcast or nothing. Like we can't all share the audience. We can't
Right.
all get in front of people. So I'm super excited for you and for the event. And I'm hopeful to be able to make it. Like I said, I appreciate you sending me the invite. And as soon as I kind of line up that last thing for work, I'd love to go down there. Plus, I live in Cleveland, Ohio. So going to Orlando in
Oh,
February is going
yeah,
to be an
January.
easy sell to the boss. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. My wife will
Well,
love
and
being there.
the other thing too, and this is why you and I talked about this before too, is and this is similar to what you're talking about. Our event is within another conference called Podfest, and
Yep.
Podfest is all for podcasters. You don't have to be a podcaster, but it's a podcasting conference, and it's a grassroots conference like this, where it's somebody identified that podcasters, it's a growing area. There's no place to fill up podcasters, teach you, grow, learn, all of that. And so they started Podfest like I think 5 or 7 years ago or something like that. So our events within Podfest and it's the same idea. Like this is all people who are serving, followers, their community, and we are doing the same. We're just doing it in the sober space. So anyone listening to this who wants to get into podcasting, if you get a ticket to our event, you get to go to the 3-day Podfest also, which is a lot of fun. Talk about a place where inclusivity is easy. I went to National Speakers Association, and it's very similar to Podfest. These are all people who talk for a living.
Yeah.
You can't get in an elevator and not be friends with the person by the time you get to the floor of your hotel room because you're talking to a podcaster or a speaker, and they're going to talk to you, and you're going to talk to them, and they're going to get to know you. So it's a really great conference to go to because there's just such amazing people there.
Man, yeah, it's a cool thing. I really hope that I'm able to make it. Where do you see Sober Life Rocks headed? Like, do you have plans? Are you going to expand? What do you see on the horizon?
So our hope is that this conference is the thing. And so we're going in this, we're going to go give it our all in this January event. We are partnering with other amazing event organizations. There's two other ones that are one's an online organization and one's more of a 3-day retreat kind of a thing. And we're partnering with them to sort of become like the sober event space. And if our conference goes the way we want, and I'm taking all of your good vibes that you're sending, then we're going to turn this into an annual thing, maybe a regional thing. We think that more people want meetups. We think more people want to connect. And this is, it can be a lonely space I mean, I was just speaking at an event and I walked up and all the speakers were at the bar and everyone was drinking. And here I stood like, okay, I don't, I'll have my mocktail and stuff. And so we deal with that all the time. And so we really think that, connection is key. So we're hoping that the conference it becomes our thing and how often and where and all of that it will really depend on what the people who come say that they want, how can we serve them?
Oh, that's so cool. And yeah, just for the record, too, Laura mentioned earlier, I'm not anti-alcohol in any way, shape, or form. So, my wife drinks wine and she likes mixed drinks. And so, hey, I'm happy to buy them. It's usually a good night for me when I buy those things. So,
Get some bonus points for that.
exactly. So I'm not anti anything. Like anything else, though, moderation is important. And some people, like again, you shouldn't judge people for things they struggle with because they're just different things than you struggle with. And so we've got to stop projecting our own insecurities onto other people by judging them because you feel superior in this particular aspect. I always think about Albert Einstein said everyone's a genius depending on how you look at them. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to look pretty stupid. And,
Mm,
I thought that was, clearly it's Albert Einstein. It's pretty smart. But in the right environment, everybody excels, or in the right environment, the wrong environment, everybody can struggle. And
right.
it's not anyone's place to cast value judgments on where those environments are where people struggle. And this one's super hard because it's so pervasive. It's literally everywhere when you stop and think about it. I've never thought about it before you and I talked the first time, but since then I'm like, it's literally everywhere. Try going to a sporting event or a meal or anywhere in the public or to somebody's house. What's the first thing they do? You want something to drink? Like,
Hmm.
like literally for your coats off. You want something to drink?
Yeah. I actually was super excited. So San Diego is where I live, and we went to the first San Diego, well, not the first, but this is the first season for the San Diego Football Club. So
Yep.
soccer game. My husband and I just went because it's a new stadium, it'd be fun. We had Saturday afternoon, and I walked in, and in every bar that had the brews on tap, and San Diego's a big microbrewery area.
Mm.
Athletic Brewing had a beer up, and Athletic Brewing is a NA beer. And I was like, this is starting to happen because I like a good beer. I was an IPA person when I drank IPAs, and I don't drink them at home and I don't drink them all the time. But at a sporting event, give me a good non-alcoholic beer. This is awesome. And I could walk around like everyone else and feel like I was part of the fun of the day. So it's starting to become noticed, I think, prevalent more, but not in every space. And alcohol is in every space. And one thing I want to mention that you were talking about with this issue specifically is up until more recently, the idea was alcohol is not the problem, the person is. Like the person has the addiction, the person is
Mm.
it's a alcoholism in the family, that kind of a thing. Now it's way more researched and we know so much more about the brain and how it works that literally realizing that it's alcohol is an addictive substance. And if anybody drinks it long enough for the wrong reason, you will get addicted. So this idea of judging, like you were saying, don't judge me and I won't judge you, and the thing, you can have control over alcohol and you could be great now, but if you keep drinking for the wrong reason long enough, hard enough, it's an addictive substance. And so now I think the respect needs to go to, we need to respect this substance. And if you drink, awesome. Just assess your relationship, make sure you're keeping it for the right reason. You're not, because at some point what's fun doesn't become fun anymore. What was just something you did on the side, now you're doing 5, 6, 7 days a week. And then you're peeing off a balcony at $1 million fundraising event and you're like, what happened? Where did it go? Right? Well, it is an addictive substance for a reason, and we need to respect it for that, right? And the people aren't broken, it's the substance. They just, and everybody that I know that have overcome their, drinking or their addiction with alcohol, they've had to do the work. They've had to, I mean, putting down the bottle is the first step. The second step was like really figuring out why you drank, when you drank, how do you do life without it? And these people have done the work, and they're amazing humans for getting to the other side, and we need to honor that and celebrate it. Like, good for them. Just like somebody said, you wouldn't go to somebody, you don't do cocaine anymore. Why? What's wrong with you? Like,
Right.
be like, good job. Like, that's awesome, right? So I
Right.
just
Just
want
snort this stuff. You can barely feel the cocaine in it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of like you said too, this whole like alcohol tastes bad for a reason. The reason they add sweet stuff to it and we mix it with things, like it's not supposed to taste good. It's gasoline, right? And I'm not saying that just recognize what it is. That's it. It's just an addictive substance that people are choosing for whatever reason, religion, wellness, recovery, pregnancy, whatever, not to drink it. It's okay. Just let people be.
Yes. Totally agree. If people want to learn more about Sober Life Rocks or work with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
So Sober Life Rocks on our website. It has everything about I've talked about. So my book is on there with a free download. Anybody who wants to send it to conference planners, event planners, download it yourself. You can buy a hard copy on Amazon also. Our event, Amplify Sober Voices, is on there also. So if you're interested in getting a ticket, coming along, learning about it, or sponsors, we're looking for companies that want to be in the room with the right people. And then the only thing outside of that is we have the largest sobriety group on LinkedIn, professionals on LinkedIn. So I didn't know this till I started this, but there's actually groups within LinkedIn, not just follow a page and follow people, but you can search for Sober Life Rocks community or Sober Life Rocks group, and you can join the group. We have 550 people in the group, and they're not all sober. They're just people who care about this message, meeting planners, event planners, HR, coaches, the whole thing. So if anybody's in the sober, you're curious, you want to see more of the conversation and stuff, you can also join us on LinkedIn.
Nice. And just like we always do, guys, we'll have all of that information in the show notes. So you don't have to go far. Just go down to the show notes. We'll have the website there, link to the Amazon book, everything will be down there. So you don't have to go to the Google machine and try and figure out how to get in touch with Laura and her team. So, Laura, one of the things I do, I feel like I ask good questions, feel like we cover a lot of territory. However, I don't want to miss something because I'm not smart enough or didn't think of it, or make sure we cover any topic that you feel strongly about. So I kind of open the floor up and say, hey, is there anything I missed or anything you want to talk about while we're in front of the audience? The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I guess the only other thing I would want to say is that um, shame, if you've got people in your life that are struggling with addiction, if you've got people who are struggling with alcohol, if you are, shame is the worst thing that you can do for this
Mm.
person. They're probably already shaming themselves enough. There's probably enough that they're dealing with that that's not going to help. Love, compassion. If you're at that spot where you're wondering, where am I? Shaming yourself, beating yourself up is not going you're just going to turn to alcohol more. right? You're just going to turn to the drug more or whatever it is. So, really, there's a lot of research out there now about how we can start to retrain our subconscious. That's really what happened for me as I've retrained my subconscious to I choose not to drink, right? But I didn't beat myself up. I mean, willpower can only last for so long. It's like a muscle. We really have to get educated and learn about why we have these issues, learn about why personally I had my issues and really love on the people who need the help. So if you've got anybody in your life, I recommend This Naked Mind is a really good book to read. No plug, I don't get paid or anything, but just it was a really good eye opener. There's other ones too, just to kind of understand more of why your loved one is where they are or why, and that there is hope. But a person's going to change when they feel like they want to change. And so beating them up or shaming them is not gonna help. So
Mm.
just you've got someone in your life that if it's not you, but someone else, just a little thought on that.
Yeah, those are great comments. Thanks for sharing them. And it's hard for people, right? Because you want to kind of force them. You can see it, you kind of want to force them, but you can't push someone up a ladder. Like they got to climb. That's the
Yeah.
hard part. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of times it's yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
cognitive dissonance is real. I just did a video about this where I remember wanting to get up and go to yoga in the morning at these conferences, but I couldn't get my butt out of bed because I was hungover and I didn't feel like it. And so the other morning, yoga was at 7 in the morning and I had to walk there and it was going to take 30 minutes. And I was like, I don't feel like getting up. I was like, but you know what? I'm not fucking hungover, right? Like I'm going to get my butt up because what my brain wanted and what my heart wanted were two different things. And I was beating myself up for years and I just didn't know what was wrong with me. Right. So shame on yourself too, like shaming yourself for anything you're dealing with. That's not going to help find the solution. That's not, and you're not alone. Whatever you're dealing with, you're not alone. Somebody's been in your shoes and reaching out, talking to somebody else, joining a community, listening to podcasts like this, who you can hear that there's somebody who's done or dealt with something you've dealt with, is the first step in the right direction.
Mm, love that. I say it a lot. The best disinfectant is always sunlight. Getting it
Yeah.
out in the open so you can deal with it is the only way you're going to get past it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely love that. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really enjoyed our conversation. And like I say, I'm hoping to make that Orlando thing in January. Hopefully, this work thing doesn't conflict and I can see you there.
I would love that. We would love to have you there.
Yeah, that'd be great. So, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thanks, Laura. Great work. Really appreciate it, Laura. That was excellent.
Thank you. You're really good at this interviewing stuff.
I appreciate it. Appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to have you there. So let me know as soon as you know. The ticket sales go up. The next price point is the end of September. So you've got,
Mm.
the price will be the same till September and then it goes up after that. So if you find
Yeah,
it,
I'm waiting on it's another event for my work, and I just don't know what the dates are yet. So as long as they don't conflict, I'll be able to make it. Like I say, like Orlando in January is an easy sell to the boss, so I can take her down there and she can get some sunshine, and so it'd be a win-win all the way around.
sounds perfect. Where in Ohio are you?
Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay,
Yep.
cool. That's awesome. I'm from Michigan originally. So
Yeah, I
right
think
on.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't been to Cleveland in a while though. So it's on my bucket list.
They've done I think I've been here a little over 10 years. So I'm from Portland, Oregon originally. So, but Cleveland's kind of coming back to life. There's a lot of good things happening in Cleveland. It's like any other city. There's tough parts that are tough and parts you don't want to be in, but they're reviving the downtown and really good food scene. And there's a couple of really big employers here. Progressive is here.
Mm,
There's a couple of really big hospital systems here. Sherwin-Williams is headquartered here. KeyBank is headquartered here. So yeah, it's got some. It's a lot better than it was when the river caught on fire in the 70s. I can tell you that.
yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. Well, have a nice evening.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks. You too. Really appreciate you coming on.
Okay, sounds great. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you, Laura.
Bye.
Okay, guys. So super good job by Laura. Really appreciate her coming on and covering that subject. Different than I think a lot of people when they think about their relationship with alcohol. It's either I drink or I don't drink at all. And that's not at all what she's advocating. Her choice is not to drink. She wants to make it easier for people to make that choice. And she wants create places in society that makes it easier for people that do and don't drink to feel welcome and inclusive and share similar experiences. So, Sober Life rocks. Remember, it's down in the show notes. Super good job by Laura. We're hoping to be able to make it to their conference in Orlando in January. We'll have a link to that down there as well. So if you're able to join, if you're interested in the subject or topic, there's a link down there, and you can go there and get tickets as well. So really appreciate her coming on the podcast. She did a great job. James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All the podcast episodes are there. Links, all the social media accounts are there. We publish a newsletter every weekday. You can subscribe to there, and make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. We publish 5 episodes a week. We've got guests that give great advice and cover great topics. They're super smart. They're super accomplished. They share for free super valuable advice to help you live a meaningful, purposeful life and make your life better. You don't want to miss any of that great stuff that's available to you. Make sure you catch our next episode. We will see you there.